Welcome to Comic Books and You. Today we're going to go over Unstoppable Doom Patrol issue 4 of 7. They added an issue to the run, apparently, and after reading this issue, well, it's pretty clear why, because, well, this issue, literally nothing of significance happened. Then again, in the issue before, well, not much happened except they've met with Starbro. And the issue before, well, you traveled through the base. So, not much has been going on in this series out of issues, except for the first one where we had all sorts of things. Another thing you'll notice is that the artist has changed for this particular issue. I don't know if it's going to be a permanent replacement or this is just a one off thing. I'm not 100% sure. This is just an odd situation overall. Let's get through it. Our main character here is going to be Jerry, or Dr. Cinco, who's the team psychologist for the Doom Patrol. Basically, she's the vessel for Rez, Raz, and Yidzd. I think that's how those are spelled. Who are interdimensional beings, allow her to ascend to a dimension of pure imagination, a fifth dimension, as she says. It's an interesting concept, not an offensive one or a combative one. So it's nice to see a character with a set of power which is different from what we normally see. She acts more or less like a normal psychiatrist or psychologist would. Of course, she has a lot of aid from being in that alternate dimension. We do get a bit of character development for Degenerate, which we've really only seen in issue 1 as a bad guy. What we understand is that he keeps himself bulked up by being angry, more than likely because we know that he was a bullied fat kid when he was a kid, probably by his parents. A bit of a mixed bag here, but it kind of explains his attitude at wanting to remain that fairly buff and tough looking dude. Unlike most of the others on the Doom Patrol, he was cleared to go on mission because Jerry realizes that he has to work through things physically by seeing how things turned out, how things are going, and how people react in different situations rather than just talking about it. So he's also unique in that particular thing that he didn't need to get a full-on evaluation and psych clearing to get into action. We get a bit more as well on Kirelli Beast Girl. She's still shown as an eternal optimist, and we do get more background about her in this particular book, which kind of explains why she's so optimistic. We see also our metagene activated in the story and how the world reacted to her. And we see as well that she sees the rest of the Doom Patrol as in an almost religious fervor. We see the chief giving her outfit for missions with a halo around her head, like a divine being. So she has that particular outlook on life, I would guess. So we're introduced to Dr. Cinco in the first page and to the person of Jerry, who is the actual psychologist here. What we need to figure out here is that this is going to be an entire issue of talking to the psychologist. If you were expecting an action-packed issue, you're missing it. If you're even expecting something with halfway decent character development, not quite what we're getting. We're getting top-level stuff for most of it. First off, we get into the head of Degenerate, and we learn he has tons of complexes from being a fat kid, that he has issues controlling his power since they're managed by his emotion by staying angry, more or less, but that he has some sort of resistance to things like animal, mineral, vegetable man. So he is useful out on missions. That makes him valuable to the Doom Patrol. Then we get into the head of Rita, Elasti-Woman, and we learn she has issues with actually being happy because she's scared of being happy. Because whenever she gets happy, well, bad things happen, or she dies, or she comes back from the dead. She does like that she has a job that she likes. She likes having to go around and helping other meta-humans. She likes that she has a stable relationship with Flex Mantello. She is in an happy spot in her life, but she's worried that the other shoe's going to drop. The follow through is with Negative Man. We learned he has issue figuring out what he wants because throughout his life he was always running away or flying away when he was an Air Force pilot from his problem, up to the point where he lost the negative spirit because he had become too positive by just running away from things. This is a fairly minor section of the book. Overall, it doesn't develop negative man quite as much as we would want. It does give us a bit of an idea of the character, but it's not as interesting as it could be. Our next contestant is Robotman, Cliff Steele, and he sits on the pink sofa, and we learn that he's probably a meta-human with the power of super quantum consciousness because he's able to transfer his mind everywhere, and even if the mind is destroyed, it's still around. Not quite sure how that works, but it's meta-humans. Don't have to explain much. We learn that he's overprotective for the rest of his crew, that he at one time turned into a planet to protect everybody he loves. That was included in Doom Patrol Wrath of the Worlds, which I do own. I'm not a huge fan of it overall. I'd have to reread it to be sure. I'm usually a fan of Gerald Way. Now he writes for these kinds of characters, but that was a bit weird to me. The main thing is that he doesn't want the others to die or to disappear. We do get a little bit more closure compared to all the other characters we meet here and that we go through, because we do realize that he can't do it all on his own and that he needs to be able to ask for help. Last but not least is Beast Girl, and we learn our metagene activated. She basically not really ran away from home because she would have come back, but she stayed up later than she should have, as her father was in one of his moods, running away from random people near Hollywood. She fell off a cliff, and her metagene activated to scare off coyotes that were going to attack her. When she got back home, she looked purple, so her dad kind of freaked out and kicked her out. And then she was attacked by a random mob and was then picked up by the Doom Patrol. We do see in this double pager here that she learned how to own her physique with Flex Mantelo, that she learned of her powers with Dr. Curlver, and that she's fairly happy with where she's at right now. She's probably the happiest of the bunch overall, even though her backstory is slightly tragic. After Carrie Lee leaves the office, the chief walks in and has a quick chat with the doctor. It's not an actual appointment, even though the doctor wants her to make an appointment and to talk about what's going on. And she says that everybody's happy with how things are going. But as we see here in this particular panel with the mirror, you see that Jane herself is not too happy with the chief always being in charge. This is a callback to what we had in issues 2 when we saw the chief and her other personalities going at it in a mirror once again. Really, not much happens in this particular issue. This would be a great issue in the middle of a series if it was long running. With where we're at now, I am definitely not sure of how effective this particular issue is in either driving the story forward, driving the various conflicts we have forward, or even giving us information on the existing characters. The cover, however, is really nice. This is the standard cover. This is the one I've got. I didn't get any of the alternate. We did look at one of the alternate in one of the first cover video I've done, and it was a negative man fighting a bunch of werewolves with the chief in the back. It was a pretty cool cover overall. It's a pretty good cover with Dr. Cinco in the middle and all the other characters coming out of her head, except for the chief, which she doesn't psychoanalyze. This is a great effect. It reflects what we see in the issue, and it's extremely eye-catching. Seeing this on a rack would be interesting. My son didn't quite like that cover. However, I don't think he's read this particular issue of Doom Patrol when he's read all the other ones. Peritext then adds, well, the blitz for Blue Beetle has started. We get that Blue Beetle ad at the back of every issue that I bought last week from DC. That doesn't leave the Flash a whole lot of time to breathe. But then again, does it really need time to breathe? Well, it already lost 1,500 cinemas. But then again, at this point, I'm not even sure if The Flash might not beat Indiana Jones 5, even though it's a catastrophic start on it. We do get Flash ads, two of them. It's the same movie poster on the both of them, but this one here is the one where they're trying to sell the tie-in book. Flash, Fast and Alive, Flashpoint, and Flash Move Forward. I don't like the Flash personally, not only in the movie but as a character himself. We get at the end of the issue the Night's Terror or intro story. It's basically a 4-pager little comic about a villain finding the All of Justice and then being attacked by nightmare creatures. I have no clue who that really is. I'd have to start digging. What I'm actually pretty sure of is that we don't need another massive world shattering event 2 months or maybe 3 months in Dawn of DC. Just add Dark Crisis and the Lazarus event and War Planet like at the end of last year, 6 months ago, and we're already jumping into another huge thing. And if you look at that checklist here, I have no idea how this goes. I mean, someone can easily read through all of this. It's not that long. I mean, those are American comics, 24 pagers, 27 pagers. Not terrible. But if you look at this is just way too many things. Night Terror's First Blood is supposed to have released this week. I haven't seen it at my local comic shop. Just look at this here. We've got First Blood 1, 2, Action Comic, Angel Breaker, Batman, Black Adam Comic, Catwoman, Detective Comic, Green Lantern, Harley Quinn, Nightwing, Poison Ivy, Punchline, Ravager, Robin, Shazam, Superman, The Flash, The Joker, Titans, Wonder Woman, Zatanna. Am I getting a few of those? Yes, I'm actually going to get. I should get Green Lantern, Shazam, and Titans off that list. I'm not interested in any of the other characters. Anything that's related to Batman, not interested in. Wonder Woman is awful and it's currently written by Tom King, not touching that. And most of those go by 2 months. I mean, if it was Night Terrors 1, 2, 3, 4, sure. Or Night Terror First Blood 1, 2, 3, 4, Night's End, sure. I mean, it wouldn't be a major world shattering super event that would work. I'm not interested in another super event. I'm reading comics to have that story, not to have to go through an event checklist. We get a 3-pager ad for One Bad Day art covers. I don't like that ad personally since you see the Joker in it, and the Joker is the only character who doesn't have a One Bad Day. $22 a pop. It's hardcover, 64-pager. Not a terrible price. It's comparable to Franco-Belgian bande dessinée. The problem is how many of them are actually good. I know Bane and Ra's al Ghul are pretty good. Riddler is catastrophically bad. Catwoman is just a Catwoman comic. I mean, it could have just been included in the Catwoman books and nothing would have changed. It's not worth the price. They're trying to say that it's Eisner nominated, etc. The Eisner mean nothing nowadays. Let's face it, everybody gets Eisner's nomination and Eisner prizes. Doesn't mean that they're any good, while the actual good artists get snubbed. Not interested. We get an ad for My Adventures with Superman, which is a show nobody's watching. Well, more people might be watching that than Gotham Knights, but overall, it's not exciting. The anime like look to it is not that great. Lois Lane doesn't look like Lois Lane. If you're going manga style or anime style, anime girls are supposed to look good. Why are you doing this? It's not as good as you would want it to be. I haven't watched it. Will I? I mean, it's not on any channels or any services that I have easy access to. I don't want to ask Long John Silver for his copies. And even if I did, I'm not sure I'd be able to find them because it doesn't have the ratings to justify it. So the artist changed in this issue. It's not a terrible change. There's some things that are odd or out of place, but it's not terrible. But on a single limited series, I'm not sure why this happened. Did something happen to the original artist? Did he get snubbed for some reason? Did they really decide, okay, let's go with another style altogether because we're in a world of imagination for this issue? This is not terrible. But as I talked to about on Tuesday while we were discussing Bummaran and the changes between the cartoon and the comic, changing the style in the middle of a story or in a story disconnects the reader from what's going on. That's part of the issue you can have. I mean, if ISOM were to change the artist for issue 3, I'm not sure it would be as entertaining as it is now. It's not a deal breaker, and I don't think the people who are reading or following this particular line will disconnect because of it, primarily because there's already not that many people reading that particular line, I'm pretty sure, and because people are more invested in the Doom Patrol than the artist that's doing it. The background work in this one is really, really good overall. We have that fifth dimension feeling to it. We've got the Tetris blocks in the back. We've got always all sorts of graphics going around all of the characters. It's not realistic backgrounds. It's a very nice mix of things. It's identifiable. We know what we are talking about when we're looking at it. And that's really the best bit in the art for this particular comic. There's some issues with the proportions on a lot of the characters. Of course, here Flex Mentallo is probably overly buffed compared to how he is in real life, since we're in a world of imagination, I guess. But even there's something odd with it. But when we look here at multiple superheroes and supervillains, there's something off about them that doesn't quite work. The feet on Guy Gardner are absent, as an example. The fists on Batman are overly big. The musculature on him kind of works, but kind of don't. Same with Peacemaker. Uh, there's too many little things that it starts being glaring. Even if the previous books were already less realistic than a lot of the other DC books out there, this one is downright cartoonish, and that is kind of weird. This is out of left field in a way. Facial expression are exaggerated to the next level here. Once again, far closer to cartoonish than to just borderline realistic like we had before. It doesn't work quite as well as would want it to be. Here we have Carolee's dad yelling in a cell phone. The and doesn't work. The face doesn't quite work. I'm not sure I like it at all. And same here, all of the women, Rita and the chief, they've got an overabundance of makeup on them. It gives it a very odd look to the eyes and the lips. It doesn't quite work like it should. Really, Elasti-Woman is the one where it looks the weirdest. I'm not sure if the artists spend enough time with the character Bible to look at what she's supposed to look like. Her feet here is all wrong if you look at it. I'm not sure how that shoe's supposed to work. Her foot is in the middle of the foot. Not impressed by this at all, and her face in this particular panel just doesn't work. Now we'll go over the story elements. There's quite a few little things that pop up, but we'll start with the biggest here. Of course, Carolee's dad had to be a douchebag of epic proportions. You can't have a good dad in mainstream comic or mainstream media in general. They have to be absentees, bad dads, abandonment, etc. I mean, having a single good dad is weird. I'm trying to remember out of recent things, there hasn't been much where I could say, like, yeah, this is a good dad character. Yes, I know Avatar 2 had that for some reason. Then again, it's James Cameron. People hating her because of how she looks. We're in a world where there's enough active superheroes, where there's enough aliens and all sorts of things that it makes no sense. If it were the good old Marvel 616, where people ate mutants for some reason, oh no, they actually have a good reason. Mutants are all complete and absolute assholes in Marvel. But here, In DC, Earth, whatever, it makes no sense. There are a subgroup of meta-humans and such that are bad guys. There's a subgroup that are good guys. Most of the time, you can easily identify who is who and what is what. It makes very little sense that people would hate on Beast Girl just because she's Beast Girl. It doesn't quite work, in my opinion. The psychologist character and the talk to your psy trope is being stretched extremely thin nowadays. It might work for some story, but it's getting extensively annoying because it's being overused in a lot of comics and a lot of TV series, etc. I understand that the artist and the writer might have a psy and they might have to go see them every once in a while to discuss their problems. That's fine, but the book should be about having an adventure or having us disconnect from this world and go into your special world. Another huge issue with that type of issue or story element here is show don't tell. Here, all we have is tell don't show. We've got, oh yeah, we fought animal, vegetable, mineral man. We saw a nice page here. We saw a nice page in the previous issue. We don't see the fight. We don't see the story that's around it. We don't see any of the details. So what we have is tell, don't show. Once again, I'm pretty sure people like Mike Barron, Chuck Dixon would tell us that's not how you're supposed to write a comic. Elasti-Woman is a bit more interesting because we go a little bit deeper into her psyche, but we don't get any resolution from it. We just get her realizing that she's angry at being happy. That's kind of how a psy work, but that's not what we want in a story. We would want a resolution. We would want to know what she realized and where she's going. Robotman gives us more tell don't show, saying things like there's more meta-humans than ever, that he's a protective freak. But we don't have any of that being shown to us in the book. We just have blocks of text. And in this particular books, when I'm saying blocks of text, you can see how many bubbles I had to clear out in this particular panel. It gets over the top here. You do get practical advice from the psychologist here. You can't do it all by yourself. That's good. But once again, we're missing something. Another major issue here, in my opinion, is that we get another conflict being added to the pile of conflicts that we already have with Jane versus her chief personality. And we already have two open conflicts, the one against Peacemaker that wants to destroy metahumans for some reason that is still unexplained, and the one with Mala, the Brain, and Immortus. So we've got three open conflicts with 3 books left in the series. So you have to close all 3 of them in 3 books. Unless we go bang, 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 which this particular series has proven over the last 4 issues that it's not going to do, this is pretty bad. This is not a viable kind of thing. I caught it at the last minute, but it really irritates me here. We've got this panel with this exact message. It's okay. Family isn't who you're born with. It's way better here. This is a message that's being repeated over and over and over in modern media. It works in the case of something like Shazam, where it's an adoptive family because Billy Batson's been abandoned by his mother and we're in the foster family system. Anywhere else, family isn't something that you choose. Family is something that you're born with. Family is who you're born with and that you have to learn to love and that they have to learn to love you back. I know this is a hard thing for some people and it does require work, but it's something that is a fact of life for the past 6,000 years. The only person you really choose is whoever you're going to marry. And then maybe your kids, but then again, you don't choose your kids. You have kids and you have to live with them. What is really weird with that particular message is that this is the kind of thing you would expect in cults and people trying to brainwash people into joining a new organization or to leave people behind. I have very big problems with that particular messaging and always will. For all my talk of show don't tell, well, where does this book actually stand in terms of pacing? Pacing here is not terrible because of how it's set up. We get a Dr. Cinco introduction in page 1, and it gives us all the details that we need right there. Then we go over character per character over 2 to 3 pages, and the art is decent enough that you can easily follow it. There's issues with it, like we said, and it's not catastrophic. And we know a little bit more about each of our character over each of the page setup. The real problem is that we've got no action here. There's nothing really going on that would attract your attention. This would be great as issue 8, 9, 1 or 2 runs under your belt there. You've got that 1 4-part story, then 1 down comic, then 3-part story, or another 4-parter, and then the issue after that is going to be this particular issue. So let's say maybe your issue 10 could be this particular issue when we've got to know our characters, your especially your new ones, your Degenerate, your Beast Girl, and we get to go a little bit more into depth into our characters. Here, it's smack dab in the middle of a 4-issue run. It was supposed to be a 7-issue run. It was supposed to be a 6-issue run, so you're adding a conflict in a 2, and you would have 2 issues to finish it. This whole thing is a mess in terms of how it's controlled. I'm really not a fan of how this is going, especially knowing that a lot of Doom Patrol stories and volumes were basically cut short because of all sorts of reasons, but often enough due to poor pacing or due to bad stories that didn't go anywhere. This is where this seems to be going. I'm pretty sure the reason they got an issue added to their limited series because nothing's really moving forward. If I was edition at DC and I saw where the different books are going and this was the 4th one I got on my desk, I'd be like, okay, but I gave you 6 issues. Where is this going? Especially if you've got a directive line or something that you're working towards that would require, let's say, you to explain why Mala betrayed the brain. And that's going to be needed in, let's say, Titans issue 6 or 7. So you need to move this forward. They were given an extra book. Does that mean that they might get another extra book and another extra book and another extra book and turn this into a actual ongoing series? Maybe. We'd have to look at the sales for that. And as usual, do we have the sales numbers? Not really. The only thing we have is, if we're lucky, some of the stores around the U.S. and Canada saying, yeah, we ordered 20, we ordered 50. That's all we really get. We don't get the actual sales number. I've gone through Volume 3 of Doom Patrol, which was the 2001-2003 run of Doom Patrol, where they had a new team except for Robotman, who was the mentor of the team. I find it kind of sad that none of those characters are included in either the Gerard Way series or the more recent Unstoppable Doom Patrol. Fever and Freak were really interesting meta-humans with their own sets of powers. Fever having problems with her emotions. Once again, if she was angry, she put everything on fire. And Freak having that weird alien monster inside of her. But those characters are basically discarded. We create new ones instead. And are they that original? Once again, not really. There's always been more character driven issues within Doom Patrol, very character centric stories, but they generally add action built into it or around them. We see that a lot in Doom Patrol Volume 3, at least at the start, then at the end it gets a little bit weird. I wish I could care about Degenerate, but I've met him in issue 1. I know what his powers are more or less, I guess, but I don't know much about him, and I don't really care about him. Beast Girl, we know a little bit more because we saw her in issues 2 a lot, and we learned how she behaves. It's quite interesting. We get her backstory. This is actually makes her a little bit more interesting, but then again, it's Beast Girl, and as I said before, I didn't know much or even nothing at all about the Doom Patrol. Now I do. And knowing that Beast Boy was originally part of the Doom Patrol, now you've got Beast Girl. It's not a gender swap character. She doesn't have the same power set, but it's not interesting. She loses a lot of that glamour that she had. Maybe they should have used a different name for her. I think it would have been more relevant. I'm going to keep buying and reading those comics. Obviously, I mean, I'm more than halfway through, unless they keep going. But this is something that I'm starting to have some issues with personally. So I hope you guys have a very nice rest of your day. I thank you very much for listening to me for this long. Keep on reading comics, keep on enjoying them. I'll keep analyzing them, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.